video, I will cover all of the gear that I used in last year's calendar year Triple Crown and how the gear changed along the 3 trails. I will cover the thought process behind why I brought certain pieces of gear and also how that gear held up over a 7,400 mile thru hike. I am playing around with AI pictures as well, so that's why nothing will look quite right in this video. First, let's cover the big 3. That includes your backpack, your shelter, and your sleeping system. I used a Hyperlight Mountain Gear Windrider 3400, that's a 55-liter pack. I wanted the Dyneema Hyperlight Mountain Gear pack because I knew I'd experienced a lot of rain on the AT. I started on the AT on February 16th and I didn't want to deal with a pack cover or have to worry about a pack liner leaking. And it worked out really well, even on very heavy rainy days. At most I would get a little bit of moisture inside my pack, but it wasn't a big deal. My pack didn't get soaked through. And the Hyperlight Mountain Gear was a perfect compromise between an ultralight backpack like a Palante and something more traditional like an Osprey. So my pack fully loaded down will usually be 30 to 35 pounds, sometimes 40 plus if there's a long food carry. And so I liked having a frame and having a hip belt to help distribute that load. So the Windrider, it comes in right around 2 pounds. It's the perfect mix of a lightweight, durable, roomy, and comfortable pack. For a shelter, I used the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Unbound 2-person tent. I picked it up halfway through the AT, so it traveled over 6,000 miles with me, so my pack and the shelter both lasted for over 2.5 thru hikes. Having such long lifespans is pretty important when you're looking at these more expensive pieces of equipment. The Unbound uses trekking poles to get it set up, and I found it to be easier and quicker to set this up than more traditional tents that I've used like the Big Agnes or the Nemo Hornet tents. I used the tent through a lot of different weather conditions, snowstorms, rainstorms, thunderstorms, and it held up through all of those. There wasn't any situation where I got wet inside of the tent. The only downside to a single wall tent like this is condensation will build up on the inside. So for the Appalachian Trail, that's more of a concern, but when you're out west on the PCT or CDT, condensation isn't nearly as much of an issue. I'm pretty sold on trekking pole tents now versus more traditional tents because you don't give up anything in terms of room or usability, and it saves you a lot of weight, and they're easier to set up. So all those means for me, trekking pole tents make the most sense. For my sleep system on the Appalachian Trail, I used a Katabatic 15-degree flex quilt along with a Thermarest Neo Air X-Lite sleeping pad. On the Pacific Crest Trail, I used the Katabatic 30-degree flex quilt with a Nemo switchback foam sleeping pad. And then on the Continental Divide Trail, I switched back to the 15-degree quilt. I used a Thermarest Neo Air again as the sleeping pad, and then I got a Nunatak Apex overbag when it got really cold. I am very impressed by the quality of the Katabatic quilts. So when they say the bag is 15 degrees, that means you can be comfortable inside of that. And I found when it got even colder, I could put on all of